One of the hardest things that you will ever have to do as an entrepreneur is not the idea or executing on the idea. It's to convince other people to invest in your company. I was talking to the chief executive of a very successful South African company, which has grown strongly since inception and has gone through several large, successful capital raisings. And he was saying how they got about 100 rejections. The management team, the startup group that pulled this thing together, they were so dejected as founders that they all kind of gave up at the same time. They sort of retreated into themselves and then went back to their day jobs because suddenly it was just too hard. And no sooner had they been willing to capitulate that the first breakthrough happened. And ever since then, it's been running like a jet-fueled steam train. It's been absolutely astonishing. Martin Matshego, who is the head of investment readiness at Fetola. How do we make our business investable? How do we dress up this thing which doesn't live, breathe, or eat? But how do we dress it up in a way that will encourage other people to see the opportunity we believe exists in our big idea?
Good evening. Good evening, Bruce. It's a tricky one because, I mean, the best way to relate it would be in who do you lend money to, you know. The idea would be to put yourself in the shoes of the lender and think about what they need to see. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you get a text from a random individual that you have no familiarity with, you know, would you be willing to engage with them and actually part with money? Probably not, you know. So there's an element of the relationship building that doesn't exist. You know, our entrepreneurs are sitting in their little boxes and trying to make the most of what they're doing. I love what Prof said earlier about, you know, at the core, they're mainly survivalists in nature. So they don't develop that relationship. They don't have that trust. And by the time it gets to starting up a application, you know, they don't know how to appeal to the investor. So it's a bit of a tricky one. It's an iterative journey, but it all begins with actually knowing who you're going to.
And you only know who your potential funders are by going out to meet all funders, because you don't know where your idea is going to land. And that's why you're kissing frogs each and every single day until one of them turns into the fairy tale prince, or princess, I suppose, depending on your proclivities. But it's this idea that you have to go in there ready for rejection, because frankly, very few people are going to share your excitement about the thing that you build.
Yep, and you know, the problem is you would be, as an entrepreneur, you'd be so excited and so self-induced by what you have built that you don't wait to gauge whether there is an alignment with your potential investor or your audience on whether or not you are aligned on where, you know, we can go together. You know, the conversation then gets lost there, and in, you know, all the excitement and, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears, the articulation of where you are going then gets lost as well. You know, you can't even explain properly what opportunities there are. You can't explain how you are, you know, you've been thugging it out all this time throughout, you know, to make this thing somewhat of a success. And, you know, a key component of that then leads into your financial management. You know, are you able to produce the numbers? And those numbers, that element, is such a critical factor that because they get so stuck in building the business, they don't build a track record with it as well. There's no visibility of that. And that is unfortunately where it all falls apart most of the time.
When does a business typically need funding? Because, I mean, so many people go to look for funding quite quickly. Others hold off as long as possible and actually constrain their ability to grow, because with a little bit of money, that would have boosted their chances at a particular point in time. Is there a sort of a magical point? Day 99 at lunchtime is the best time to get funding, or whatever it might be?
I mean, what time do you go to sleep? You know, it's that type of a question. But ideally, you're looking more at when you reach a ceiling, and as an entrepreneur, you would know. You would feel that at this point, there's not much to do except maybe diversify what I'm doing. And that is the point at which you now need to go out looking. Or you actually have opportunities available at your disposal, but you do not have enough money to go for them. So that's when you then go out. Or, and more importantly, when you want to grow faster. So you have the means, you have everything at your disposal, you just need to start running, and there's no juice in the tank. And, an investment gets you there a bit quicker, provided then there's all the measures around it in place to make sure that you don't go crashing into a brick wall.
Yeah, and then, again, people also forget the amount of preparation that it takes to ready yourself for this investment, because it's not like you can accept the investment if and when it comes and then go, excellent, thank you so much, I'm going to pop that into the current account, and when we're ready, we're going to apply this money very well. Just trust us. And 6 months later, the funder goes and looks, and the money's still sitting under somebody's mattress or in somebody's couch or whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Look, at its core, the business needs to thrive on sales, right? You need to make money as an entrepreneur. That's the core anchor of it all. That's your best source of funding. If then you need to now go out, and that is assuming that your sales aren't enough to cover exactly what you're trying to do. The main thing that you start off with, as we alluded to in the beginning, is you need to build that relationship. Go out there. Go start engaging, start mingling. The networking sessions are low, the breakfast, the dinners, whatever the case may be. Get you out there, let the market know who you are, let them acknowledge you. Then from there, it's just the building of the trust. You have that visibility, you have a website, you have that bit of credibility that allows, an investor, when they're sitting at home having lunch, or supper, and they're saying, hey, I met this most interesting guy, telling their partner or whatever the case may be, and the partner can just do a quick Google search and pop, there you are. It's small things that may feel trivial, when you're talking about them, but they actually build a lot of the investment case that, the individual that you're going to approach will eventually build up of you. Then there's your track record. Now, how they've built their business, making sure that it's visible. The numbers need to be clear. If they're not doing it, then you need to start doing it at some point, but providing that track record and knowing exactly how you're going to pay back whatever it is. If you're getting a grant, you need to pay it back in reporting and impact measurement. If you're getting debt, you need to know exactly whether you can cover the interest. It's all self-preparation that begins before you even approach the investor. And that in itself is already halfway of the journey done.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Again, rejection is part of this process. And you don't want to go in expecting to be rejected, because otherwise you go in and your hands are wringing and you're apologizing for being there and saying, you're the 74th person I've met and everyone else has hated the idea, but I'm sure you're going to love it. And it's that ability to go in and, I just talked to the CEO I mentioned earlier, chatting to them last week, and somebody who tells the story of rejection very well is Sarah Blakely, who started the business Spanx. And she was trying to get something as simple as a prototype of a product made, and she had the fabric, but you needed specialized equipment and skills to stitch, to make the garments she wanted to show off. And she went from garment production facility to garment production facility, and all of these guys who were usually considerably older took one look at her and said, what you're trying to achieve is impossible, please don't waste my time, go away. But she'd been a door-to-door salesperson, I think, of photocopiers or something equally annoying. Like when you've got one, you really don't need 7 this year and people keep knocking on your door. But she got so used to being told no that it made her tough as nails. So that by the time somebody said yes, she was ready. And she was ready to go out of the starting blocks, not jogging, but sprinting.
Now, the funnel needs to be that big. You pour all of your ingredients right at the top of the funnel, and you just hope that something comes out down at the bottom. And whatever comes out there is then what you are ideally going to treasure. So I think that's, you cast your net as far and wide as possible. It's not, maybe again, connected to what Prof was saying earlier, it's the awareness of knowing just how much money is available out there. There's hundreds, almost thousands of funders, that are currently roaming the streets in SA alone. And it's just the awareness and doing the research, the right level of preparation to find out who exists and is doing what are they interested in. That's, starting the net that wide big and just start funneling it through, refining it. Okay, these guys only invest in my type of business, but only when I'm making more than 10 sales. Then these guys are looking for me, but only when I'm making more than 20,000 rand. All of those things, you just add on your own little layers of criteria as you're doing your research. It eventually starts funneling, but you're still throwing the net in. You're still throwing your hat in. You never know. You might win a lottery now and again. But it's all about the learnings that you take from each rejection. All of them build character over and over, and eventually you'll get a thick skin, and someone will turn you back into a softie.
No, but exactly, and it's that consistent resilience, and it's exhausting. Oh my goodness me, it's exhausting. Martin, thank you. Martin Matshego, who is the head of investment readiness at Fetola this evening. Some really good advice on how to make your business investable. Rule number 1, don't give up.